Hey everyone, today we're gonna have a look at the Sailor Fude de Mannen. This pen is made out of brown injection molded plastic and it has some tiny sparkly particles inside. So the material is not too flat looking, it's actually quite interesting, especially for this price category. On top we see a cone-shaped finial with an injection molding mark, and underneath we have a gold colored ring, and the cap then continues it's almost straight down to the bottom ring. Above the ring we see a marking Sailor Japan. On the other side of the cap we see a roll stop. The body is straight and pretty long, and on the bottom of the pen we see a similarly shaped finial, again with an injection molding mark and a golden ring. The cap uncaps in 3/4 of a turn. Underneath the cap we see a gold plated nib marked MF, so this was likely a regular steel Sailor medium fine nib that was bent into this Fude shape. This is the less extreme angle out of the two options that are available. This one is a 40-degree bent, the other one is 55-degree. Underneath the nib we see a regular plastic feed. The section measures 9 millimeters at the narrowest point and then tapers up slightly to 10 millimeters. I normally prefer a slightly wider section, but this is good enough. Unscrewing the pen body reveals access to a cartridge converter system. The barrel is so long that you can hide another Sailor cartridge inside it, and it also takes Sailor converters. In this sense, it's a pretty standard Sailor pen that does not suffer from some kind of compromises. This is a fairly long pen at 16.7 centimeters when capped. It's much longer than a Lamy Safari, almost as long as the Pilot Parallel. The cap doesn't post at all, but the pen is plenty long enough at 14.9 centimeters when uncapped. It's also fairly light. Capped it weighs around 13 grams and uncapped about 8.7 grams. Okay, let's start with probably the most interesting part of this review, that is the writing sample. So the pen is Sailor Fude de Mannen, and this is the 40-degree nib. The ink is Sailor Black. This is one of the cartridges that came with the pen, and this ink works really well with the Fude nib. This nib is fairly usable even for everyday writing. It's quite smooth and it does not have any major flow issues. Let's check the hard starts. No issues with hard starts, and for quick writing the problem is that the nib sometimes does not get enough ink flow. This can be more easily demonstrate it if I try to write the thickest line it can do. Now if I try to do it very fast, you see that the ink can't really keep up, or rather the feed is not able to provide the nib with enough ink. So you have to go sometimes a little bit slower especially if you want to write with the thickest line possible. As far as the wetness goes, this is okay. I would say it's pretty balanced. For normal writing speeds, you generally have enough ink flow. Let's also test reverse writing. It's a bit scratchy, but the ink flows fine and you get an extra fine line out of this. Now, when it comes to line variation, at the widest line width, you have some line variation. However, it can't really replace an architect nib, in my opinion, as the line width difference between horizontal and vertical strokes is not super easy to control. So if you just try to write, you will see that this does not have really enough architect-like character to it. Let's check line widths at different angles. So if I put the pen almost 90 degrees to the paper, we get a fine to extra fine line. Now slightly more parallel to the paper, we get this medium to fine line. Then again more parallel to the paper, we now get basically a broad or a double broad line on horizontal strokes. Now if I go all the way, I'm getting about 1.5 millimeters on horizontal strokes and then 0.5 millimeters on vertical strokes. So this is a very fun nib. It works much better than a Jinhao number 5 Fude nib that I have. It's probably not really usable for some kind of Western calligraphy. Nevertheless, it's fun to play with it. I think the best use case for this nib is art or some kind of creative journaling, lettering. I would not really buy this nib for everyday writing. Ergonomically, the pen is wide enough and it's also more than long enough to be comfortable. The material also feels nice enough to touch. As for my overall thoughts, I think the pen is executed well enough for the price tag of under $20. The cap seals extremely well. The plastic feels okay and I don't really see any build quality issues. Design-wise, I would maybe prefer a slightly flatter finials. The main star here is of course the Fude nib that works very well as soon as you're careful with how fast you are writing. However, I think that if you're not planning to learn some kind of calligraphy that requires a Fude nib, then this entire pen will be a novelty for you, just like it is for me. Despite that, I'm glad I bought it because I think it's a lot of fun to play around with the properly functioning Fude nib. So if you want to try a Fude nib, this is a great choice. Otherwise, maybe skip the span. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.